What's going on, homies and homas? Thank you so much. Welcome to my channel, Juan B. I hope you're doing very good. So after I told you guys that I wanted to shave my head and that I was waiting for some possible auditions, I got an email from my agent saying that she wanted my entire family to go for an audition. And it was one of those days that was raining in Los Angeles, which no big deal. But we went to La Brea, and it's about a 30-minute drive from our house. So then we get there, I dropped my wife and kids in front of the casting office because it was raining. So then I had to drive around the block to park so then they wouldn't get wet, and then I walked to the casting office. And when I got there, they told us that we couldn't audition because they were looking for a certain type of people, and my agent didn't tell us about it, or she got confused about it, which no big deal, you know. So we basically, it was just a mistake, honest mistake, which happens to everyone. And I could have been upset about it, you know, but I try not to get the little things get to me. So then I walked to get the car back, which was just a few blocks from there, and drove back. And Emily wasn't coming out of the building right away. But what happened is that was a bus stop, so I couldn't be there because all the buses were coming. So then I kind of like went into this entrance of the building, and all the people were trying to walk through because it was like a sidewalk. So even though it was the entrance for a parking lot, I couldn't really be there. So then I moved forward more towards the entrance of the parking lot, and it was just not a good place to be parked. But Emily finally came out with the kids, and there was a sign that said parking lot full. It was just in the middle of the entrance of the parking lot. I should have backed up and then just took off in the street, but there was just a lot of traffic. I figured I'm a really good driver. They called me Mr. Parking Yo. That's kind of funny because when I met Emily, I told her that my nickname was Mr. Parking, and then she's like, why? And I was like, because I'm so good at parking. There was this day that there was a snowstorm. There was barely enough space to fit a car. But I was like, I'll park there. And I just like parked, and then this neighbor was like, oh, he's a really good driver. And then I told her that my name was Mr. Parking, and then that was kind of a joke that I told her that my nickname was Mr. Parking, which wasn't, and then became for a little bit. Anyway, so I'm trying to drive around this sign. Very bad idea. I knock the sign down, and I just move a little bit forward. I get up from the car to pick it up because I knocked it down, and then just drive to go back home. And all of a sudden the car is kind of like wobbly. So then it's very obvious that we had a flat tire. So then I pulled over to the side of the street, and the tire is just completely flat. Usually when you get a flat tire, it's kind of hard to pinpoint what happened. There's usually a nail or something they find. This time it looked like the tire got hit with a machete. It was just like cut, and basically it was still raining, so I had to change the tire. I got a little wet, and my kids were a little bit like, hey, what's going on? But I was like, no big deal, I'll change it. Once again, I could have been pretty upset about that accident that happened, but you know what? I seriously was like, no big deal. That being said, we needed new tires. We still had about a month left on these tires that we had on this car, but what happened is that the tire was cut so bad that there's no way they could fix it, so we basically had to buy tires again. We could have bought one, but the thing is that the car that we have is a 4x4 at all times, so the tires have to be symmetrically balanced. So we just bought the tires, which is a good time because we're gonna be going to Joshua Tree for camping for spring break. I'm very looking forward to that. But the moral of this story is that I could have been really upset about it, you know, and there are days that things just go wrong for some reason. Sometimes we bring that upon ourselves, like, you know, I could have not parked there and had my wife meet me across the street, or I could have waited, you know. But anyways, I could have let that get into me, but I decided to just let it go. It was just a couple of hours that we wasted, and the next day I had to go and replace these tires and do these things that I could have waited a little bit longer. But I decided to not let that get to me. I feel like, you know, for another example is that I work at a restaurant, and I feel like sometimes servers make a huge deal out of getting one bad tip, you know, or two bad tips, or three bad tips, or a bad day, which we'll have. But what happens is that, like, if you focus on every little bad thing that goes wrong, imagine how much harder life is gonna get if you, focus on those bad things. These are choices, Some people have more difficult lives than others, and some people have it easier. But I feel like we have the choice to make it easier or harder upon ourselves. And part of that is the attitude. What kind of attitude are we bringing to things? Are we the type of persons that are positive or negative? And I feel like depending on the outlook that you have on things, that's how things will unfold more. So if I get a bad tip on a table and I'm just focusing on that bad tip, then the next table might give us a bad tip, and it might not be associated with the universe and the law of attraction. It might. But it also could be that you're in a bad mood and people are reading that, right? So then people are you're not maybe giving the best service, or people are feeling that negativity or that mood that you might be in. So I feel like it's better to just kind of enjoy the ride, right? That same day, an agent calls me and she's like, you and your family are on hold for a campaign. And I'm like, great. So for those of you who don't know about acting, on hold means that you've gone through an audition, a callback. There's a few people left on who they are deciding to pick for that project, for that commercial, for whatever. And we were, on hold. So that means that they tell you a date, and you have to make that day available in case they go with you. And hopefully that day you will go and work and have a good time and make some money. So I was like, wow, that's great, right? After I decided to not let all that bad stuff happening to me, I get a call saying that I'm on hold. So I'm like, great. The next day, I drop the kids off to school. I drop the car off in the morning to have the tires replaced. And it's about 11 in the morning, and my agent calls me. She's like, you are gonna be probably booked today, so we need the kids' permits for work. We have our oldest daughter Elena's permit, and they also need a bank account, so then they deposit the money for them, and if you're their parents, you don't steal their money. And but Isabel doesn't have that, so then I basically have to go to the school, get a piece of paper, go to a public office and get a work permit, so everything has to be in order. That day they close the office at noon when I get the call at about 10:30 or 11 in the morning, and the car is still in the tire shop. So everything is being cut short, and once again I could have been like stressed out and rushing, but I was like, now! Like everything's gonna work out. If we get the job, great. If not, then at least we're gonna get the permit and new tires. That was just how I was seeing those things, and everything just went smoothly. I went to the office, everything got signed off. I made it about 15 minutes before they closed the office. I got the permit, I got the tires fixed, and then a couple of hours later, my agent calls me and then she's like, you and your family are booked. And then she's like, I'll send you the email, the confirmation and everything, and be ready to be shooting for this company. So everything worked out. I'm very happy that things worked out. When I release this video, we're gonna probably be doing this shoot. I'm planning on filming a little bit, which is kind of tricky to film in these locations because they don't want photography. I mean, they allow you to take pictures of yourself and stuff, but they don't want to release any, they don't want people to see any of this. That's why I'm not saying anything really about this project or these auditions other than my experience, but I'll try to tell you about the experience and share this, so stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. This was it for this video, my homies. I hope you're doing very, very good, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.